everyone, we are live. Let me do a little camera adjustment here. So you see my pretty candle. And I'm just going to bring up YouTube on my screen so I can see if anyone writes anything in the chat. Oh, I better mute myself. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to take a sip of water. I have a helper who's running around like crazy. I don't know if you can hear him. We also may get visited by Scarlett, the wonder cat, because she is very curious about the tripod today. Hi, Amy. Thank you for joining me live. Today's topic is going to be the Mediterranean diet and can it help prevent cognitive decline, which is something that's very close to my heart, as you will find out. And here comes Scarlett. Yay. Be good. Let me take a sip of water. I'm still a little weird from when I had my cold. There's a new study. Good morning. Hi, Maestro. Thank you for joining me live. Okay, there was a new study. I have a friend who works in the medical field, and whenever he sees anything related to the Mediterranean diet, he forwards the articles onto me. So I'm always reading medical studies about the Mediterranean diet. And there was a new one that came out recently about how it can help with people who have MS, which is multiple sclerosis. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But first I wanted to talk about other forms of cognitive decline, specifically Alzheimer's and dementia. My mother had a form of dementia, and it was very painful to see her decline slowly over time. And part of the reason that I am on the Mediterranean diet, for not only for weight loss and for all the other health benefits that come with it, because heart disease also runs in my family, and Mediterranean diet is very important for heart disease. It also is, studies have shown that it can help with to prevent cognitive decline and to protect your brain cells. Dementia and Alzheimer's, I'm going to read from my notes here because I don't want to get this wrong. Dementia and Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. They're not the same thing. Alzheimer's is a very specific form of dementia. My mother had a form of dementia. She did not have Alzheimer's. So fortunately for us, she was losing her short-term memory, but she always recognized this. And I think if she didn't, that would have been really much more difficult. But dementia and Alzheimer's are syndromes that are associated with progressive brain decline. Abnormal proteins called amyloids, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, form plaque that disrupt the communication between neurons. So the patients can lose their long-term memory in some cases, mainly their short-term memory, and eventually over time their brain stops to communicate with other parts of the body, and some of the organs can eventually shut down. And that happens over a long period of time, very slowly. Some studies have shown that following a Mediterranean diet, or even more so a complete plant-based diet, can really help lower the risk of developing dementia. I also should point out, there was also a very big study done in Sweden that says that this may not be the case. But the Swedish study really just said that they've had mixed results, and it's not just diet alone, that it also includes maintaining a healthy blood pressure, not smoking, drinking alcohol only moderately. And also some people have criticized that study, saying that the people who participated in the study were self-reporting their results back, so it wasn't as monitored as it should have been. So I just wanted to point that out there, that maybe not everyone agrees. So if you're wondering why I'm looking down here, I'm reading off of my notes. I don't want to get any of these facts wrong. So the Swedish study said that diet alone may not be enough, but other factors such as exercise, not smoking, drinking alcohol in moderation, maintaining a healthy blood pressure may be more important than diet. But as I always say, the Mediterranean diet isn't just about the food. It also includes all of those factors as well. So the Mediterranean diet is really a lifestyle. So it's all encompassing with those lifestyle practices. Now, studies have shown that going completely plant-based can be even more beneficial. But the Mediterranean diet is much easier to follow. It is mostly plant-based anyway, but I think you have a better chance of having people follow the Mediterranean diet than going completely plant-based. Or if I hold up my flexitarian cookbook here, this is a mostly plant-based cookbook that tells you ways that you can incorporate some meat and fish and things into your diet and some dairy without going completely plant-based. But the studies have also shown, now here's my Mediterranean diet cookbook, and there are a lot of the beginning chapters in here talk about the health benefits of the Mediterranean diet. But a lot of the studies have shown that you have to stay on the Mediterranean diet. It's not something you can just do once in a while and be like, oh, I'm going to eat Mediterranean today. To get the really long-term benefits of all the health benefits that come with the Mediterranean diet is something that you have to do as part of your daily life. And it shows, I'm going to read something here. Adherence to a Mediterranean diet was associated with better cognitive function, lower rates of cognitive decline, and a reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease in 9 out of 12 studies. And the better you adhere to the diet, the better your results will be. I'm also going to read this to you. So, according to the Alzheimer's Association, now this is in quotes, high levels of antioxidants from the high intake of fruits and vegetables may help to protect against some of the damage to brain cells associated with Alzheimer's disease, as well as increasing the levels of proteins in the brain that protect brain cells from this damage. So it is very important. Now, the Alzheimer's Research Center of the UK put out this list of ways that you can prevent the risk of dementia. And I'm going to read them to you, and I think they're going to sound very familiar, which is why I'm reading them to you. Number one is to eat a balanced diet. And they suggest eating at least 5 portions of fruit and vegetables in a day, high fiber starchy foods like potatoes, rice, and pasta, a small amount of dairy or dairy alternative, unsaturated fats, and drinking 6 to 8 glasses of liquids a day. They didn't specifically say water, but they said liquids. I always say that we should eat 5 to 10 servings of vegetables a day. If you can do 5 servings of vegetables a day, that is great. Serving sizes are very small. You know, I always say, like, if you just think of the palm of your hand, like if you think of how much broccoli you could fit into the palm of your hand, that's a serving of broccoli. It doesn't have to be a mountain of broccoli or the whole thing. The next one was to maintain a healthy weight, and that was to maintain a healthy BMI, which is the body mass index, of between 18.5 and 24.9. Another one is lower alcohol intake, no more than 14 drinks spread out throughout a week or even less. Now, 14 drinks sounds like a lot in a week, doesn't it? But people in Europe, they may drink alcohol often, but they don't really drink it in large quantities. So think about having a glass of wine with your dinner, or maybe 2 on the weekend or something like that. But not to drink heavily, not to binge drink, not to drink to get drunk, not going out with your friends and drinking a lot of alcohol. So if you think of 14 throughout the week, that's like 2 a day, and that's really. The American Heart Association only recommends maybe 2 a day for men and 1 a day for women because of the difference of our body mass. I would suggest that you don't drink every single day. I don't drink every single day. But when you do, to only have a glass of wine, maybe 2 glasses of wine, and not drink an entire bottle of wine. I'm going to take a sip of water. Another factor is to control blood glucose. By following a healthy diet and keeping active. And if you have diabetes, to make sure that you manage your blood sugar levels, because blood sugar is very important also for cognitive decline. Another one is reduced cholesterol. And now the Mediterranean diet originally was discovered because they were doing a study about high levels of serum cholesterol and how cholesterol can affect your cardiovascular health. And then they went on to study, when they found out how healthy it was, for serum cholesterol, they went on to study it further and further, and they keep finding more and more studies of how it can benefit you in all kinds of areas. So reduce your cholesterol by eating a healthy diet and doing regular exercise. Another one is to stop smoking. Smoking can increase your risk of all types of diseases, but stopping smoking can reduce your risk back to the level of non-smokers. Now, that's really important, that your lungs can heal in that capacity. So even if you are a smoker, if you stop smoking, you can heal yourself. It's not like it's too late, so stop smoking. And the last factor that they mentioned was to control your high blood pressure by eating healthy, maintaining a healthy weight, regular exercise, reduced alcohol consumption, and not smoking. All those can lead to higher blood pressure. Now, if you put all those together, that's what I'm always talking about, is the Mediterranean diet, right? So one of the doctors in one of the studies, I don't remember which one, I can put all the links down in the description when I'm done of the articles that I read. He says, there is no downside to adopting a Mediterranean way of eating. and a Mediterranean way of living. You should always check with your doctor before you do something new, especially if you have a health problem like diabetes or high blood pressure or high cholesterol, things like that. But it's really just a way of eating healthy foods. Now, I wanted to get back to the study about MS because that's the most recent study that has come out. Studies have shown that the Mediterranean diet can also help lower the risk of disability in patients with MS. Now, that's multiple sclerosis, and it can help manage many of their symptoms. I'm going to read this too because I don't want to get any of these medical facts wrong. MS is a chronic autoimmune condition that affects the brain and the central nervous system. And symptoms can include fatigue, mobility problems, and numbness. And more research is needed, of course, but they were encouraged by the preliminary studies that they were showing with the Mediterranean diet and helping. Now, I'm not a doctor, and I say this all the time. I am just presenting you the many studies that I read about the Mediterranean diet, and you should always consider the Mediterranean diet. You should never consider the Mediterranean diet as a substitute for any kind of medical advice, and always get the approval of your professional medical doctor before you do anything. But I thought that those studies were encouraging. And like I said, after World War II, really in the 60s is when they discovered and they started naming the Mediterranean diet. There was a study called the 7-country study where they were specifically looking at how serum cholesterol levels can affect cardiovascular disease. And they studied 7 countries. And the 2 that came out with the highest scores were Greece and Italy. So they specifically started studying those countries. And then they realized that all the countries around the Mediterranean area kind of follow a similar pattern of eating lots of vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats, unsaturated fats, lots of olive oil, a little bit of red wine consumption, beans and legumes and seeds and nuts. And they all have those similar practices, and they eat very little meat. But they all spice them up in their own ways. So the cuisine is very specific to the countries. You'll never get bored. I mean, eating in the south of France is very different from eating in Greece, is very different from eating in Turkey or in Morocco, or, there are many countries that border the Mediterranean Sea that all have these healthy practices in their diet. And when they discovered this about the serum cholesterol, like I said, they went on to study it further and further, and they realized it can help prevent cancer. It can help with type 2 diabetes. It can help with depression and anxiety and even fertility issues. And more and more studies come out, and of course there are more studies that need to be done. But I always find it very encouraging. So if there are several celebrities recently that have come out saying that they have discovered they have multiple sclerosis. Like one of them is Christina Applegate. I can't think of the other girl's name. They were in a movie together, and they both ended up having multiple sclerosis. And you see them sometimes now, and they walk with a cane, and they're having some mobility issues. And there are many different medical things that they can do to help with that. But one of the things that they're saying is that the Mediterranean diet can really help if you really adhere to it and you adhere to it closely. So I hope you find that encouraging. And if you are following me because you like to learn about the Mediterranean diet, there are always more and more things that we're learning in a positive way. Maestro says, let me see what it says. Fantastic info. Can't wait to read the studies. Thanks. Yes, I will put some links down below that you can read about them for yourself, because I'm just sort of summarizing them for you, but there's a lot more information in those articles. That's all I had for you today. I usually have, a little fun thing to do at the end, but the only thing I have to show you is I bought these 3 bracelets. Little stretchy bracelets just to have something for the summertime. I was shopping in a nearby neighborhood that's really quaint and very colonial and stuff, and I wandered into a gift shop, and they had all kinds of goodies in there, like face masks and candles, and I bought some face masks, I bought a lip balm, and I bought these 3 little bracelets. So that is all I have for you today. So unless anyone has anything they want to ask, or if you want to be coached around anything, now is the time to say. And I will, as soon as I get off this live call, I'll put some links down below so you can read those studies for yourself. But if nobody has anything, I think that's all I have for you today. It's really getting warm here today, so I'm really encouraged about spring. Our farm market has opened. And if you're following me on Instagram stories, you'll see that I've been making all kinds of things with the things I got from the farm. Okay. Thank you again, and I will see you next week. Bye.